I'm here for you. Man's walking out the door. He's very happy to be walking out the door. And to answer your question, yes, Joe, I am working both the Bruins and the Celtics game tonight. I am a hero. There's no other way to say it.
Multitasker.
It's what I do, Joe. It's what I do. It's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray. We're here until 7:30 when we hand things over to RJ and Bob for Bruins Winnipeg tonight. Charlie McAvoy returning. Got the Celtics and the Bucks on 105.7 WROR tonight. 7:30 pregame with Grandy and Max, and we're here until then. We'll get to the Patriots and the Bills a little bit later on. Latest on the injury report for the Pats, what this game means this weekend, all that. But I do want to start with the Red Sox. How do you not start with the Red Sox after the week that they've had and the really nice winter meetings that the Red Sox had? Way to go, guys. Again, you jackasses. Seriously. And actually, really, for the next 90 minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to list off all the Red Sox accomplishments at the winter meetings. All right, you ready for them? Skaz, you ready? All right, that's it. Good night. Show's over. Everybody enjoy. Have a great night. Fox Sports Radio is up next. They'll carry you forward to the Bruins and the Jets tonight. That was the week they had. And I've heard from Red Sox fans all week long with the refrain, and I get it, oh, the Red Sox are cheap. They're cheap. Henry's just milking the Red Sox for all they're worth. He's not interested. He's not serious. He doesn't want to spend the money. And you're right about that. You are right about that. You are not wrong. It's true. They don't spend enough money. Ownership has been a problem for a number of years now. They are dysfunctional. They care more about other investments. All of those things are true. But the problems run deeper than ownership, and it showed again this week. And that's what I want to focus on, at least for now. Because I can't change ownership. You can't change it. None of us can change it. We can't do it. Henry's either going to decide to spend or he's not. He's not going to be pressured by you or me or anybody else. That's not going to happen. But I can get another general manager fired. I can do that. I know I can do that. I've already done it before. I do wield that type of power. And I'm not saying I'm there yet, Craig. I'm not there. I've defended Breslow more than most in this town, to be honest. But I'm warning you. Don't cross me. Don't get me mad. Don't get me upset, and you're starting to get me upset. I will not let the baseball people off the hook just because the business people kind of suck. We know ownership sucks right now. We know ownership hasn't been serious enough. Going back to 2018, I can't change that. But we've done it for too long where we've let the baseball people off the hook. And this week is just as much about the baseball people as it is the business people, as it is about ownership. And I want to make it clear, the offseason is not over yet. And I said this on this show a week ago. This offseason will be more accurately defined and will be more determined by trades than free agency. Because I know in the end, the Red Sox are probably not going to compete at the top of the market for free agents. I know their best path is via a trade, via multiple trades. There are still moves to be made. Marte's out there. Pitchers are out there. There are moves for the Red Sox to make. Bregman obviously is not signed anywhere. The offseason is not done, and my expectations have not changed based on what has happened over the course of the first 3 real days of the baseball offseason, because that's what the winter meetings are. My expectations remain the same. The Red Sox can and should be able to build a World Series quality roster this offseason. By spring training, you can do that, and you can do it pretty much only via trade if that's what they ultimately choose to do because they don't want to pay for free agents. They have the ammunition. The question is, do they have the baseball people to execute that? And that's why this week, to me, was more indicative of a bigger problem with the Red Sox. We have to take a deeper dive into their philosophical approaches and problems that exist. They do exist with that front office. They do exist with Red Sox baseball operations. There is a complete and total disconnect between what they think players are worth and what they're actually worth. And it shows up most often in free agency, but it shows up via trade too, which we'll get to. I mean, that's the story with Alonso. That's the story with Schwarber. I believe the Red Sox really did want those players. You might say I'm a sucker for believing that, but I do believe that. I just think they have no idea how to actually get the player. See, I think there's this attitude and there's this narrative that the Red Sox just tell everybody they're interested to get everybody's hopes up, and they're not actually serious about things, and they're not actually interested. It's where the term interest kings come from. Oh, they're interested, but they don't actually want to do it. They're just telling everybody that they're interested, so they just string you along, and that's the way we talk about the Red Sox in this town. Ask yourself this, does that actually benefit them? Like, does lying to you and misleading everybody and then bringing this type of reaction on them every single time this happens, does that actually help their business model? I don't think it does. I don't think it helps their brand. I don't think it helps anything. I think the Red Sox think they're serious when in actuality they're out of touch. You're missing the mark. The Red Sox are not saying things behind the scenes just to get your hopes up. The Red Sox are actually hopeful that they're going to land these players, and they just have no idea how to because they don't know what the players are worth. There's a difference. There's a difference in that. I think what happens with the Red Sox, and it's been shown time and time and time again, and it showed up with Schwarber and Alonso again this week, is they go into negotiations with a plan, a predetermined value of what a player is worth, and more often than not, they don't land the player because the market and the rest of baseball values the player more than the Red Sox data set values the player. And that's the nature of free agency. It's almost always an overpay. When you go out onto the open market and there are, in theory, 29 other bidders, you're going to almost always have to overpay for that player. You're going to have to go beyond what your value is of that player. That is the nature of the business. It's the way the world works. All it takes is one team, not 29 teams, but one team to render your value sheet completely irrelevant. I mean, a lot of people said Pete Alonso wasn't going to get 5 years. He did. Pretty much nobody said Alonso was going to Baltimore. He did. 5 years, $155 million. Tim Healy reporting last night that the Red Sox offer was for fewer years and for significantly less money. Stop me if you've heard that one before. Jimmy Stewart, our own Jimmy Stewart, reporting today that the offer was for 3 years and $85 million. Again, he got 5 and $155. And Jimmy also added that there was a $35 million player option and a potential fourth year, which again, still is nowhere near the commitment and the guarantee that Baltimore gave Alonso. I mean, it's a joke. It's not even close. Not even close. And just change the name of the player and change the year, change the offseason, and that's how pretty much every Red Sox free agent pursuit has gone for years. Now, we can have an argument about whether teams get it right or wrong. I mean, the Red Sox basically offered Xander Bogaerts like essentially the Trevor Story contract. He got double that on the market. So they weren't even close. The Red Sox offered Pete Alonso essentially half of what he got in Baltimore. They weren't even close. Reporting this week that they didn't even make an offer to Schwarber, and there's been plenty of reporting saying and suggesting that they love Schwarber. We all know they love Schwarber. They probably got to the beginning, the starting line, found out what the starting bid was, and said, well, that's over what our value is. We're out. The Red Sox just went in there and said, 3 for 85. That's it. That's our data. And the second you go against their data, the second you present a different opinion on a player's worth, they walk away. Whether that's an opposing GM, the Minnesota Twins, at the trade deadline, or an agent, Scott Boras, or whoever that may be, the second you present a different opinion on a player's worth, the Red Sox balk. They get up and they leave. They walk away. Now, you can call that cheap, and maybe it's born from a place of cheapness. Probably part of it is. But I actually think it's more stupid than anything. The Red Sox aren't just cheap, they're stupid. More importantly, they're stupid. And perhaps even more than stupid, they're arrogant. They think they have all the answers. And it's interesting for a franchise that theoretically thinks they have all the answers and seemingly thinks they have all the answers. It's interesting how little and how infrequently they end up with the player. Because it's just not the way the world works. Negotiations are done in real life and not by a spreadsheet. It's done in a real room with real people and not in a computer. And that's where the problems exist for the Red Sox and for Craig Breslow, working with people. As I said, I've defended Breslow more than most. I actually think he does have a vision. I think he does identify players that can help the team. We would all agree Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber can help the team, right? But you might say, yeah, McCarthy, it's a given. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the Red Sox need a power hitter. Okay, well, it's a low bar, but it's a little bit more serious than Chaim Bloom was, who had no interest in ever improving his major league roster. I think Breslow actually is interested. He's not interested in hoarding prospects. He wants to help the big league roster. He just has no idea how to actually execute that vision, because that involves working with people and accepting that other people are going to have a different point of view than you do. Getting deals done in any form of business is about bridging gaps. And the Red Sox have a general manager who I think has pretty consistently proven he can't do that. I mean, it's been suggested on these airwaves and elsewhere that the reason the Red Sox got the Garrett Crochet deal done is because Theo Epstein came in at the end, bridged the gap between the Red Sox and the White Sox, and said, Craig, you need to give up more. You need to go above your value sheet and give up more to get this deal done. They got Theo involved to close the deal because Breslow couldn't, because he had a value on the players. He had a scoring system, whatever it is. He has his value chart, his Jimmy Johnson draft chart, whatever the Red Sox equivalent of that is, and he won't go beyond that. The same way that they were not going to go beyond 3.85 because that's what their data suggests Pete Alonso is worth. And by the way, they might not be wrong about that. I don't want to give Pete Alonso 5 years either. But if you want to get the player, you have to do that. And yeah, the final 2 years of that deal are probably going to suck for Baltimore. So what? That's my attitude, but that's not their attitude because it's not what their value chart says. And the thing about negotiations, the thing about anything, dealing with people, is people are going to differ on opinion. Value, in the end, is not a number. It's not. It's an opinion. And that's what somebody like Breslow can't understand. You can't quantify value. I mean, if I ask you right now, is Pete Alonso worth $155 million? And you can give me your opinion at 617-779-0985. You might say yes, you might say no. But what you're going to give me is an opinion. Nowhere in your opinion will there be a fact. It's your opinion. And that's what value is. You can't quantify it. You can't put a number on it. Somebody's opinion of what Alonso's worth is going to be different than your opinion. You can't turn something that is frankly unscientific into something that is scientific. And you're just going to spin your wheels if you try doing that. And to me, that's what the Red Sox do every single time. They end up trying to get involved with a free agent. They end up trying to execute a trade. You keep hearing, well, they weren't really close in the end. Is that because they don't want to be close, or is that because they actually think they have the player's value determined and pinpointed, and they won't go beyond that, and they won't extend beyond that? That's who they are. I mean, go back to the trading deadline. Red Sox couldn't close there either. They said they were close on Joe Ryan. The Twins said they were never close. You probably say, well, one side's lying. I actually don't think either side's lying. My guess is the Red Sox had their numbers that said Joe Ryan is worth this. We've got a deal on the table that should be accepted. And the Twins said, your numbers aren't good. Your value chart, your system, your players, you're overrating your system. You're overrating their value. So as a result, you have one side thinking they're close, one side thinking they've put a deal on the table that matches the player's value exactly, and the other side says you're overvaluing your players. They're not worth that much. They're worth this to us. How do you bridge that gap? And the answer is the Red Sox can't bridge that gap. They can never bridge that gap. Call them cheap all you want. Don't get me wrong. It's a factor. But it more has to do, or at least a big part of it has to do with the fact that the Red Sox can't align their numbers and what they think a player is worth is with what the market thinks the player is worth, or what another general manager thinks the player is worth, because Craig Breslow has all the answers. And in the end, he doesn't get the player. That's where they're at. And that showed up again this week. Not even close. And I think they thought they were going to be close because they are so convinced that their numbers are right. And oftentimes there's a disagreement and they never get the player. That's where we're at. 617-779-0985, off and running. It's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray. We'll get to you next.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray.
Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
You know, like I said, we can put our best foot forward. We can make the decisions that we think are best for the organization, and players are going to make the best decisions for themselves and their families. And we respect that when players get to free agency, they have a choice over where they end up playing. But I think we've done a lot over the last year to make Boston a desirable destination.
Except, of course, figure out what players are worth and pay them accordingly. Other than that, you've done a lot to make Boston a destination. It's Craig Breslow talking about the disappointing week that was for the Red Sox at the winter meetings. To you, it's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray tonight, 617-779-0985. Let's go to Freddie and Eastie. Hey, Freddie.
Hey, Matt, how you doing? Great show as always.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, we all know that the Red Sox, one, are not going to pay. To win, you have to overpay. In Game 7 of the World Series, the combined salaries of the pitchers for the Dodgers was
$1.3 billion, something like
$1 billion.
Yep.
Yes, and what did they do? They won. Did they overpay for Yamamoto? They sure did. Guess what he did? He won them that World Series.
You could
the Red Sox.
I got to let you go on that, Freddie. Sorry, we're up against it. You couldn't be more right about that. Yep, you have to overpay at times to win. And I just don't think the Red Sox have fully accepted that yet. And the question is that an ownership thing or is that a baseball operations thing? And I think it's frankly a little bit of both. I mean, I think the Red Sox, if you're offering Pete Alonso 3 years and $85 million, as Jimmy Stewart reports, and he gets 5 and $155, why are you even making the offer in the first place? I mean, and the answer is the Red Sox feel so strongly about what they think a player is worth, and they will not budge on that. And, you can do that when a player is under your own control. You draft him, you develop him, but not when a player is a free agent and not when you're making a trade with another team. You have to find a way to bridge the gap somehow. And I don't think the Red Sox have any interest whatsoever in bridging the gap. I mean, they keep doing this. Every single time there's a big free agent that they're connected to, you get the report after the guy signs elsewhere. Well, the Red Sox really weren't close on years and dollars. Do we really think that they're just doing it for the hell of it and to lead you along and to string you along and make you think that they're interested when they're actually not really interested? There's just no benefit for them doing that whatsoever. It just makes them look bad. I think they actually do believe that this is what these players are worth. Their data suggests that Pete Alonso is worth 3 years and $85 million. And you know what? They're probably right about that. They're probably right. He's probably not worth more than 3 years. He's in his early 30s. You're going to get him until 34 at that point, and there you go. And then you want to move on. Great. You're not actually going to get the player if you do that, though. But I think they're so wrapped up in their models, in their belief, their philosophies, and their numbers, most importantly, that they'll get in, they'll open themselves up for some level of embarrassment, and if the market doesn't go anywhere, then they'll land the player. If the market stays where the market should in their eyes, in the eyes of the data, then they'll get the player, and they'll be very happy about that. But that's not the way free agency works. Unless you have a situation like last year where the market doesn't really come to fruition for a guy like Alex Bregman. It doesn't materialize. So then he comes back to you. You overpay. I mean, $40 million is an overpay for 1 year for a player. And they'll say, yeah, we'll do that, but we're willing to do that because the data says we can overpay in the short term. We just don't want to commit in the long term. So the data says we can do this. I just think that's where they're at. They're so sold on their own bullcrap that they keep putting themselves in this position. I don't think there's any benefit to them putting themselves in this position, like saying they're interested and not landing the player. That doesn't help them. I think they actually get involved thinking they have a chance every single time because their numbers say what the player is worth, and they're so committed to those numbers. They believe in them so much. And then they just sit there at the end scratching their head saying, well, I mean, come on, Alonso's not worth $155 million. How could somebody think that? The answer is the Orioles probably don't think he's worth $155 million. The Orioles probably think he's worth 3 for $90, but they're willing to give him an extra 2 years so they can get the player. And that's why the Red Sox don't land him in the end. I think they're that committed to it. 617-779-0985. Alex and Gardner are up next. Hey, Alex.
Hey, I got to defend the Red Sox. How many bad contracts did we sign when we were spending all this money?
A lot of bad contracts.
A lot of bad contracts. So why not be safe in this time, you know?
Okay, so where does that get you? Where does that get you, Alex?
It gets us to where we are. We're like a borderline fringe wild card team.
You okay with that?
I'm obviously not okay with that, but I can't stand another Pablo Sandoval contract. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Pete Alonso's Pablo Sandoval, obviously, but
he might be. He might be. There's an inherent risk in signing free agents. Yes. Yeah, of course. But if your approach is we don't go beyond the value, we don't go beyond what our data says the player is at any time whatsoever, if that is your approach, if you are so, just so radicalized by that thought, we don't ever budge, period, end of story. If you're going to be that extreme about it, then you're never going to land the player, and this is where you're ultimately going to get. Yeah, the Red Sox signed Pablo Sandoval to a really bad contract. You know what they did 3 years later? They won the World Series. The Red Sox signed Carl Crawford to a really bad contract. Awful contract. Terrible contract. You know what they did 2 years later? They won the World Series. There's an inherent risk to signing baseball players. There's an inherent risk to trading for baseball players. You know, there was risk in trading for Garrett Crochet. And again, we go back to the suggestion, and Jimmy Stewart has made it here on the airwaves, and it's been suggested elsewhere that the reason the Red Sox got Garrett Crochet is Theo Epstein got involved at the end and pushed Breslow to go beyond his numbers, his value chart, and push that deal over the top. I don't know what player that represents. I don't know if that's Kyle Teal. I don't know if that's Braden Montgomery. He said, if you're going to get this deal done, you need to go the extra mile. You need to get uncomfortable. And they did. I mean, that was uncomfortable. They traded 2 of their top 5 prospects. They gave him $180 million when he had basically never pitched before. And it worked out. Astonishingly well. It worked out. I mean, it is a slam dunk, as slam dunks as you get. But you have to be willing to do that. And they weren't willing to do it on Alonso. They weren't willing to do it on Schwarber. And I guarantee you, they won't be willing to do it the next time around, too. They've decided what these players are worth, and chances are somebody else is going to value them more. 617-779-0985 will continue. It's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray tonight.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Charlie McAvoy back in the lineup for the Bruins tonight as they visit the Winnipeg Jets. RJ and Bob will get us started at 7:30 here on the Sports Hub. Meanwhile, the Celtics are in action tonight in Milwaukee as both teams failed to qualify for the next phase of the NBA Cup. So the Celtics playing tonight. Randy and Max get us started at 7:30 on our sister station 105.7 WROR. Around baseball, closer Robert Suarez. The Red Sox will take care of you. How about Seth in Taunton? What's up, Seth?
Hey, guys. So my biggest aggravation here isn't the fiscal responsibility. It's the timing of it. Like if you have a trash team and you want to be fiscally responsible and not extend yourself years, go ahead. You have a team that looks like it's on the upswing, got good young pitching, has all these homegrown position players, and this would be the time where you would extend yourself to maximize that window that you have with all these young players on relatively cheap contracts. Being cheap right now is just, it's the opposite of what should be happening.
Well, right, but the value chart doesn't show that. You know, if your numbers say Pete Alonso's worth $3.85, is he worth more to you or less to you based on where your team is now? I mean, look at the Orioles, a team that I think a lot of folks did not expect Alonso to land with. Well, they've got new ownership, so that does help them. They're coming off a disappointing year. They're trying to build something there. They've got all these young players, and they say, we need to make a splash. So you know what? Maybe Alonso is an $85 million player over 3 years, but they say we're willing to pay more because he's worth more to us. And that's the thing I think the Red Sox truly don't understand, because that's a real-world scenario. You know, their value might say he's worth something, but is he worth more to you or less to you based on where your team is at? And the caller's right. He should be worth more to you based on where you're at. I mean, go on Zillow right now. See what your house is worth. If you're like me, you might look at your house and say, Jesus, my house isn't worth this. I bought my house 4 years ago. It's not the amount more that Zillow says my house is worth is crazy. I'd say I wouldn't pay this for my house. But is it worth more to somebody else? That's the thing that the Red Sox don't understand. It's not what the player is worth to you. It's also what the player is worth to somebody else. That's how you determine value. And I'm convinced the Red Sox do not understand that, because that's a real world scenario. If I think my house is worth something, but I don't think it's worth what would be suggested to me that it's worth, is it worth more to somebody in the next town over who wants to send their kids to school in my town instead of the town to my west or the town to my south? Oh, you see, that's how you determine value. It's not what it's worth to you. That's a factor. But more importantly, what's it worth to the other guy, to the next person, to the next team? That's what the Red Sox can't wrap their heads around. 617-779-0985. Steve in the car. Hey, Steve.
Hey, so, Matt, you were asking earlier, is it an ownership thing or is it a, Craig Breslow thing? I think it's a confluence of factors. I do think that what you talked about with the statistics and the data and everything else, but I also think it's the reticence from this ownership group to pay any guy above the age of 30. They've been doing this since John Lester. It's like they made a mistake one time, and especially with the Chris Sale extension. They made that mistake, quote unquote, with Sale, because it didn't work out, and they said, we are never going to make that mistake again, and we are never going to pay a guy above the age of 30 ever again. So I think the data piece from Breslow and that piece of them not willing to go off of that, combined with the ownership group not willing to pay anybody above the age of 30 or give any level of term to anybody above the age of 30, is causing a confluence of factors to where they won't do anything.
Steve, you couldn't be more right about that, which gets into some reporting from Tim Healy. You are 1,000% right about it, and we are not talking enough about the Red Sox over 30 philosophy. So reading from the Globe, the Red Sox were wary, however, because of Alonso's age, sources said. He just turned 31. His new contract will take him through his age 35 season. Although there are those who maintain elite performance, players' production generally declines through their 30s, which causes some clubs to hesitate to invest in them. Whereas long-term extensions with Garrett Crochet going on 26 when he signed for 6 years and Roman Anthony 21 when he signed for 9 years were appealing to the Red Sox in part because of their relative youth, that is harder to pull off in free agency. Such an approach raises a perhaps daunting question. What does that mean for the Red Sox in re-signing Alex Bregman? Which we'll get into here momentarily, what this all means for Bregman. But the caller's right, and we don't talk enough about this. It's really easy for us to say the Red Sox are cheap, And yes, they are cheap. It's really easy for us to say the GM is a robot who can't deal with people, is too analytically driven. And yes, of course, that's true. And we'll get into more of the reporting on Craig Breslow and how he operates with people here momentarily, because I think that's important. But we don't talk enough about this absolutely asinine policy that you never, ever, ever on planet Earth pay somebody over the age of 30. That you just don't do it. And the Red Sox have wrapped themselves into that thinking, and they've held on to that thinking for years. They did that with John Lester. They got burned. Dombrowski came in, who had a lot of influence, and Henry trusted him. It's why he brought him in. They had worked together, 15 years prior, 20 years prior in Florida. And Dombrowski, came in and spent money on David Price into his 30s, signed Chris Sale to an extension in his 30s. And the second they blew Dombrowski out, Henry and company said, never again, no more. We're not doing that. Because, yes, you get burned. Carl Crawford going into his 30s. Yes, you get burned. Pablo Sandoval, fat-ass Pablo Sandoval going into his 30s. Yes, you get burned. You could even argue that the Red Sox didn't get everything out of Bregman that they wanted to last year because they paid him $40 million and he was really good before he got hurt. And then he kind of had an older baseball player injury and a quad injury, and he was never the same. And that's going to be a huge factor in the Bregman thing moving forward. The Red Sox will pay younger players. They gave Garrett Crochet a record contract for a guy who's never pitched, essentially ever. I mean 300 innings in the big leagues. They gave him that contract. It's crazy money for a guy who had never done that. So they are willing to pay. They gave Roman Anthony a lot of money for a 21-year-old. They are willing to pay if you're in your 20s. They've signed a whole bunch of guys in their 20s. Now, you could say it's value. You could say they're cheaper, all of those things. But it's a massive factor. We talk so much about money, and rightfully so, but we do not talk enough about how the Red Sox are scared off by years, which is why their value chart says Pete Alonso 3 years, $85 million, which is reasonable. It's reasonable. Reasonable for that player. You want to pay him $85 million over 3 years? We all would. Of course you'd sign him for that. But that's not the way the world works. The world is not a reasonable place. Again, it's not just what he's worth to you, it's what he's worth to everybody else. The Red Sox have proven they will overpay on shorter deals for older players. They're happy to do that. They will sign you to big money extensions if you're in your 20s. They're happy to do that. But they will run for the hills if you want some type of long-term commitment in your 30s. I mean, it is the Lester approach all over again, and they've been operating like that since the Sale contract. The caller is right. He's right. So if you think about it, that's probably why Alonso was never going to happen. It's why Schwarber was never going to happen. It's why they didn't even make an offer. Once the reporting was out there that Pittsburgh was at 4 years, they're like, well, we're not going more than 4 years. Probably not even going more than 3. We're not paying for that. Sure, we'll give him $30 million a year, no problem. We just don't want to make that commitment to him in a 4th or a 5th year. And you could say that's them being cheap, or you could say that's their baseball philosophy. Chances are it's probably both. It's probably both. But they have shown a complete inability to make decisions on a player, to make exceptions on a player over 30. They don't do it on a case-by-case basis. They don't say, yeah, we're going to overpay for this guy right now because we need him now. He's going to help our team. We need a first baseman. And yeah, the final 2 years of this deal aren't going to look good, but we've got a team that's ready to go, a team that we think can contend for a pennant, and we need a first baseman. So we're going to go out and we're going to sign Alonso. They don't believe in that. They don't. It is hard and fast. They don't make commitments to players in their 30s. Period. End of story. Why'd they end up with Bregman last year? It wasn't really that much of a commitment. They'll give the money. They'll pay the money to a certain extent. I mean, $40 million for Bregman's an overpay. We can all agree with that. It is. It's an overpay. I love Bregman. If you have to pay him $40 million for the next couple of years to come back, I'll do it. Happily. It's an overpay, but I'd do it. Again, it's easy for me to spend somebody else's money. It's the Wick Grossbeck approach. Just spend somebody else's money. You'll be very happy with that. But they're not going to do it. If it's going to take 4 years to get Bregman back, won't happen. 3 years is the maximum they'll go. Maximum on him. Because they operate in absolutes over there. They're so data driven. They're so wrapped up in their own idea of what's right and wrong that they operate in absolutes. They can't be flexible. They can't be presented with a different opinion on a player, a different approach, a different idea, because they've got all the answers. And that speaks to not only an ownership problem, not only a leadership problem over there, but it speaks to a baseball operations problem. I want to remind you of some of the things that have been said about Craig Breslow and the way he operates. We'll do that next. It's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
Winnipeg Celtics, 7:30 pregame on WROR tonight. So that is your evening coming up. More on this, though. More with the Red Sox week. We'll get into the Patriots as well before the program is out here. Obviously, a tremendously frustrating week for the Red Sox. Not even close on Alonso. Didn't make an offer on Schwarber. It feels like the offseason is starting to slip away. Frankly, I don't think it should. I've always maintained that this offseason was going to be about the trade market rather than about the free agency market, because we just know the Red Sox are not going to compete at the highest levels of free agency, whether it's because they're cheap, which they are, or it's because they don't value players the way that other teams value players. They're never going to compete at the top of the market because they're so dug in on what a player's value is that they're going to come in embarrassingly low on both the money and the years. But what that all speaks to is a general manager who is close-minded and is not willing to hear the opinions of others. And that's my biggest concern. My biggest concern with the Red Sox and my biggest concern with Craig Breslow is not the baseball acumen. I think he's made good baseball moves when he has actually been able to execute good baseball moves. He has improved this team. There's no doubt about that. Had a good offseason last year. He did. Crochet, Chapman, Narvaez, pretty damn good. Bregman, pretty damn good. That's a good offseason. Built a team that went to the playoffs. Pitching is being fixed in the organization. They now have pitching for the first time in forever. So it's not the baseball stuff with Breslow. I actually think he's a pretty strong baseball mind. It is not the baseball acumen. It's how he goes about his business. It's how he deals with people. And what we understand about Craig Breslow. So if the Red Sox offseason is going to be determined by whether or not they're capable of making trades, which, as I said last week, and now it looks like this week, is exactly the way it's going to be. They've got ammunition. They can make a number of big deals happen. They can really improve this team via trade, where we could be sitting here at spring training saying, wow, this team's really pretty good. The offseason is not over yet. Do not think it's over. But my biggest concern about that is Craig Breslow is going to have to get on the phone and talk to another human being, which is a problem for him. This from June Lee's reporting this summer following the Rafael Devers trade. We should not forget this. Breslow has grown increasingly insulated. Multiple sources within the organization describe a front office losing cohesion. Staffers who helped build 4 championship teams, veterans of Theo Epstein, Ben Cherington, Dave Dombrowski, and Chaim Bloom, now feel shut out of the operation. The collaborative spirit that once defined Red Sox baseball operations is frayed. The discontent intensified in May of 2024 when Breslow brought in a sports consulting firm, Sportsology, to conduct an organizational audit. The stated purpose was to streamline baseball operations. In practice, it triggered a wave of firings and accelerated the marginalization of some of the longest tenured voices in the building, characterizing the cultural shift to align more with Wall Street efficiency. One of the clearest signals came at the end of an internal Zoom meeting earlier this season. Towards the end, Carl Moshe, a Red Sox scouting supervisor and team employee since 2017, thought the call had ended. It hadn't. As the meeting wrapped up, his voice cut through a quiet moment. Quote, "Thanks, Brez, you effing stiff," Moshe said. According to 2 team sources, the words landed like a grenade. Breslow fired Moshe. Now, first of all, the comment's still hilarious. You Brez, you effing stiff. The guy gets fired, gets axed, which a lot of us probably would do. If an employee of ours said something about us, we might react to that and fire the guy. How about bring him in the room? How about ask him, hey, why do you think I'm a stiff? Let's work through this. Let's work together. But instead, Breslow doesn't. What has been painted to us, the reporting has suggested that Breslow doesn't work with people. He works on his own. He's insulated. He is vengeful. Will fire somebody who speaks up against him. Now, listen, there are probably egos involved here. There are people who aren't doing as important jobs, maybe have been marginalized for good or bad reasons, we don't know. And maybe they have an axe to grind. So consider that with the reporting. But it seems in line with everything we've learned about Breslow at this point. I mean, why didn't the Twins thing get done at the deadline? Well, chances are it's because Breslow criticized the Twins publicly. before the trading deadline, at the All-Star break. Breslow obviously ripped them publicly. So what did the Twins do? They teased him. They strung him along and pulled the rug out from him right before the deadline and left him with nothing. Thought that he was going to get Joe Ryan, didn't get Joe Ryan. And now all of a sudden, we're getting reporting this week that it's not the Twins. It's not the Twins who aren't interested in trading for Joe Ryan. It's now the Red Sox who aren't interested. They're going to look at other things. The Twins have not broken up with Craig Breslow. Craig Breslow has broken up with the Twins. Everything we learn about this guy would suggest that he can't work with people. So how are you going to get business done if you can't bridge the gap? You want Ketel Marte? Great. I want Ketel Marte too. How do you work with Mike Hazen to get that done? What if Mike Hazen in Arizona says, I think Early's really good, but I don't think Franklin Arias is as good as you think he is. Franklin Arias, one of the Red Sox top hitting prospects. Are you going to storm away and say, well, you're wrong. My numbers say he's good. My value says he's good. My data says he's good. You have it wrong. Or are you going to find a way to bridge that gap? I don't think Breslow's capable of it. That would be my concern. And we got more reporting this week, and we've gotten more reporting this offseason about what the Red Sox think of their outfielders. And I think it's increasingly obvious that the Red Sox offseason will be ultimately a success or a failure, depending on what, if anything, they can get in return for Jarren Duran or Wilyer Abreu. That's where this thing is trending at this point. So, what will they get? And what do they make of them? Some reporting on that I don't think we've gotten to enough this week. We'll get to that next. 617-779-0985. Quick update. We'll be right back with you. It's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray.
From the Telfair Time Studios, WBC FM and HD1.
It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Beasley Media Group Station.
Essential Sports Hub headline, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Charlie McAvoy back in action tonight for the Bruins as they visit the Winnipeg Jets. RJ and Bob get us started at 7:30 tonight here on the Sports Hub. Celtics in Milwaukee tonight after both teams failed to qualify for the next phase of the NBA Cup. Brandy and Max have the call on our sister station 105.7 WROR. Coverage starts at 7:30 there. Thursday night football tonight, 8:15 kickoff between the Bucks and the Falcons. Patriots injury report is out as they get ready for the Bills on Sunday. Robert Spillane, a new addition today with a foot injury. Harold Landry and Terrell Jennings once again missed practice. Steelers pass rusher TJ Watt is being evaluated for a lung issue at a Pittsburgh area hospital. His status for Monday's game against the Dolphins remains up in the air. And another move today in baseball, closer Robert Suarez leaving the Padres. He signed a 3-year, $45 million contract with the Atlanta Braves. Headlines are brought to you by Eastern Massachusetts leader in drain cleaning and pipelining, Drains by James. Slow drain, clogged drain, you need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. I'm Matt McCarthy on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub, your next update during the Duncan Bruins pregame show.
There we go.
Boom. I win. Kaboom.
Yeah. It's a buddy. Oh. We've got a passion for Boston sports. Get angry. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Bregman in an undeniable overpay. They found a really savvy move and got a good catcher. They signed who ended up being basically the best closer that moved last offseason in Aroldis Chapman. They had themselves a good offseason. They did. Here I am thinking like, okay, they've got pieces to trade because they do, and they still do. They still do. They're at $180 million right now with their payroll. I mean, we know they're probably not going to go above about 250, but hey, that's $70 million to spend. That's a couple big time, contracts, however you get them, whether it's adding Marte through a trade or, re-signing Bregman or signing a guy like Alonso. Yeah, you've got some money to spend. Not that they're going to blow you away, but they've got some money to spend. And it's not over yet, but they've shown to me once again that they just don't know what the hell they're doing. And that's apparent and that's obvious because they think they've got the answers. They're so smart. Well, for a team that's so smart, how do you keep ending up in this spot? Huh? And it's showing up again on the trade market. And here's why I'm starting to get worried about the trade market, which again, I said last week, don't overreact to free agency. So I guess I'm breaking my own, I'm straying from my own take on that. This offseason is going to be determined by what they do in the trade market, not in free agency. We know in the end they don't want to spend like the Blue Jays or the Dodgers, so it's going to be how do you work within the financial limitations that Henry has placed on this team and build a World Series contender, which you can do. Undeniably, you can do. I want them to spend, you want them to spend. You spend $250 million on a baseball team, $260 million, you can build a World Series winner. I believe that. You need to spend in this sport. You can't be the Rays, you can't be the Brewers, you can't be that. The Red Sox are not those teams. They were a luxury tax team last year. If you're a luxury tax team, you can build a World Series winner. I fully believe that. But you do need to be a little bit more savvy than you've been, because the spending in baseball, I don't want to call it out of control, because I think the Dodgers are great for baseball. I mean, the Dodgers have gotten better again. They signed Edwin Diaz a few days ago. I think the Dodgers are great for they're a villain. You don't want them to win. They outspend you, but you watch, and you watch the World Series because they were in it. And you wanted to see them lose, most of you. Didn't happen, but you watched. You were invested. You have a feeling about them. You have an opinion about them. It's good. It's good for the sport. It's really good for the sport. So while you're not going to spend like them, you can spend enough. $260 million is enough to build a World Series contender if your GM is savvy enough and can work with people. And I don't know if Breslow is that. Because what I'm hearing, and I go back to this tweet from Chris Cotillo that I don't think generated enough attention. He said, 2 things I believe today, this is from 2 days ago at the winter meetings, that come as minor surprises. 1, Ref Snyder's return seems less likely. Fine, whatever, that's irrelevant. Although the Red Sox are now talking up Nate Eaton. So I guess that is a typical Red Sox move. Let's save a couple bucks on Ref Snyder, and we've got Nate Eaton. Hooray. But more importantly, number 2, Cotillo says this: I think it's far from a guarantee they trade an outfielder. Dude, you've got to be kidding me. Far from a guarantee that you're going to trade an outfielder? You have too many outfielders. You have a surplus of outfielders. You have a surplus of pitchers. So what a smart general manager will do will say, let me take from an area of strength and improve an area of weakness so I can build a better baseball team. But the problem is the Red Sox overvalue their own players. We hear from Jeff Passan at the beginning of the offseason, the Red Sox value Jarren Duran like the 7-win player he was in 2024 instead of the 4-win player he was in 2025. So what's happening is the Red Sox are offering Jarren Duran around baseball because they know they need to move on from him. They have a surplus of outfielders. He's not a winning player, as he proved to you in New York in that 3-game series. He is not the type of player you want to build around. And if you think Duran's the type of player you want to build around, I've got a bridge to sell you. I'm sorry. And I know there's a segment of fans that love Jarren Duran. They love him. But he's not a winning baseball player. And you can't count on him, and you can't rely on him. It's a harsh thing to say, but it's true. It's the truth. You can't count on Jarren Duran. I root for him. I wish him well, but it's not going to be here. It might not be anywhere, because I don't know if he can put it together consistently, because he holds himself back. It's just the reality of it. I don't like saying it, but it's the reality of it. But so as a result, you want to move on from him, but you're going to try and get 100% of what you deem him to be worth. Again, value is not a fact. Value is not a metric. Value is not a number. Value is an opinion. So the Red Sox probably tell Jeff Passan, we're not getting the offers on Duran. He's a 7-win player. People are trying to trade for him like as a 4-win player. Have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, they might be right? That you might be wrong? Again, we'll go back to the house analogy. My house is worth way more than it was when I bought it almost 5 years ago. If you bought almost 5 years ago too, you have the same experience. Your house is probably worth more than when you bought it than whenever it was. And I look at it and I say, wait a minute, no way. I wouldn't pay this for my house. Well, somebody else will. Somebody else will. And that's what matters. And it's the inverse with Duran. You think he's worth this. Nobody wants to pay that. So you're just going to hold on to him? You're going to hoard him just to say that you're right? You're not going to make your baseball team better by trading Duran for something that can help you, because maybe that something isn't as good as it would have been a year ago if you traded Duran. But you probably valued him too highly then to make the trade. Because people around baseball look at Duran and probably know what he is. They probably have some concerns about him, and they're probably not going to pay 100 cents on the dollar. They're going to pay something less than that because they've got concerns about him. Probably rightfully so. So as a result, you're going to look at somebody else and say, you're wrong, I'm right. Great. Where's that going to get you? Where's it going to get you? The answer is stuck right in the middle. You're not going to make any bad moves, but you're not going to make any moves at all. It's not a good spot to be. Chris Cotillo, far from a guarantee that the Red Sox trade an outfielder. What are we doing? How many outfielders are you going to have on this team? And by the way, how many of them are platoon players? Because Duran bats 200 against lefties with a 600 OPS. Wilyer Abreu was actually better against lefties, but they refuse to play him against lefties, but they do play Duran. So they conveniently ignore the numbers on that one. Probably because they feel like they can't bench Duran because they might not get the most out of him when he actually does play. Because he might not be able to handle it. So it's a tough spot to be in. And the answer is let's not trade Duran unless we get a 7-win player in return. Come on. What if you get a 5.5-win player, but he's a pitcher, or he's a first baseman, or he's a second baseman? What if you get that? What if that happens? You a better baseball team? The answer is, to me, you are. But then you will have given up something at not full value, and that offends the numbers. Because it's not an opinion. No. Value is fact. Value is data. They're so wrong about it. That's a real concern right there. Again, their off-season will be determined by what they do on the trade market. Their off-season probably comes down to what they get for Duran. And if they don't get much for Duran, then they don't trade him. And as a result, you've got the same problems you had last year. He's probably the key piece at this point, Duran. What they get for him. Can they manage to milk all 7 wins out of Jarren Duran's value? If they can, they probably get a number 2 starter. If they don't, if they can't, then you're going to be sitting here in spring training saying, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Who's playing first base for this team again? Sorry, what? Where's the power coming from? Then you'll hear all about how Wilyer Abreu is the answer because they're going to play him against lefties. All right, sure. I'll believe it when I see it. 617-779-0985. We continue. Charlie McAvoy back in the lineup tonight. Get you game ready for the Bruins and the Celtics. Get some Patriots thoughts on the board as well. We'll continue. It's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
old guard, if you want to call it, the last 5 years, the only remaining team from the iron of the AFC. Baltimore's taken a step back. Kansas City looks like they're going to miss the playoffs. And Buffalo has been inconsistent. They have not been very good this year. But they're coming off a big win against Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. Highly entertaining game. Big-time matchup. They got to win there. I know they lost to the Patriots earlier this year in Buffalo at home. The Bills have more to prove than the Patriots in this game. And don't get me wrong, as a Patriots fan, I'm glad that they're underdogs. If that's going to, get them to any extra level that they need to get to, fine. Yes, they should be treated as underdogs. Buffalo still has the better team, I think. They certainly have the better quarterback, although May has been outstanding this year, but Josh Allen is still a step above Drake May just because he's been there and done that. Maybe Drake May will be better than Josh Allen one day. Maybe it'll be soon. I mean, the guy's a legitimate bona fide MVP candidate. He's probably going to get more MVP votes than Josh Allen. May's been better than Josh Allen this year, but Allen's a better quarterback just because of what he's done, the resume, all of those things. So Buffalo should be favored in this game. They should. And I do kind of like this spot for the Bills, which is why I'm glad the Patriots are underdogs. If it wakes them up to the fact that Buffalo still is the team that you need to get past in the division, and it's fitting that if they win this game, then they clinch the division. It's more than fitting. But it feels right. I think Vegas got that one right, and I'm very happy as a Patriots fan that they are underdogs. Gives them a little extra juice. I'm more than fine with it because you still have something to prove. And just overall in a game like this, I like a team that's more desperate. And the Patriots have a lot to play for. Not only pride, given that they're home underdogs, chance to get home field advantage all throughout the AFC playoffs, a chance to get the bye. Trust me, those are massive stakes, big-time stakes. But don't forget that they weren't supposed to be here. And somewhere in the back of their minds, they probably know that. They're ahead of schedule. Buffalo's supposed to be here, and they're having to fight harder to get to where they need to go than you're having to fight. So that's why I like them. I like Buffalo in this game this weekend. Too much for that team to prove. With Kansas City down, with Baltimore down, things seemingly, at times this year crumbling up there. I mean, after that Houston game, you look at them and you say, geez, this is not trending in the right direction. And it still might not be trending in the right direction. They lose this game to the Patriots, and the Patriots, beat them twice in a year and, win the division against them and make the statement that it's no longer your division. That is massive. That is a psychological blow to a team, a franchise, a fan base, a city, which is why I like them in the game. It's too important to them. And they've just played bigger games than the Patriots. I'm not saying they're typically good in big games, but I don't know what the Patriots look like in big games. They haven't had any. So I'll take a little bit more of the known commodity, even though trust me, I'm not fully sold on the Bills. I'm not. I don't know how you could be based on the way they played this year. I don't know how you can be sold on that defense. You certainly can't be sold on their coach. McDermott stinks. He's awful. But I believe in Josh Allen. And they've come in here before. I was at that game in 2021 where things started to turn against the Patriots. Maybe things had turned a week or two earlier, but Buffalo came in here. Steph Diggs had a big game, if I recall, and they won that game. So I do like the Diggs factor. If there's a prop I like a big game for Stephon Diggs this weekend. But Buffalo favored ever so slightly, 1.5. I think I like the Bills in this spot. Feels like a good spot. I like the more desperate team, and I just think in the end, Buffalo is more desperate. Both teams have something to play for, but Buffalo, the stakes are higher for the Bills this season and in this game this weekend. So I like them in that spot. All right, Bruins and Winnipeg coming your way next. Charlie McAvoy back in the lineup. We'll see what he looks like coming off the broken jaw. Obviously, a significant development for the Bees getting McAvoy back. Well, we know the difference that they have when they miss their top two defensemen, when they miss Lindholm, when they miss McAvoy. So undeniably, a massive development for the Bruins tonight. RJ and Bob will have the call of the game coming your way here shortly. If you're looking for the Celtics tonight in a game that's been added to the NBA schedule because the NBA Cup is continuing, much to everybody's excitement, and just really, how can you not get fired up by it? You are profoundly fired up by the NBA Cup. The Celtics tragically did not advance, so we got this game added to the schedule tonight. The Celtics and the Bucks in Milwaukee, in a matchup that felt way more important a few years ago. But we'll see what we get from the Celtics and the Bucks. You can hear that game on our sister station 105.7 WROR. But right now, here on the Sports Hub, it's RJ, Bob, Bruins, Winnipeg Jets coming your way next. James Scaramazino, thanks for all your hard work. Much appreciated. That man gets to leave. He gets to go home. I'm here. I'm here until the games are over. I'll talk to you after the Celtics game. And the Bruins coming your way next as well. I'm Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray. I'm back with